Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is Wednesday, and it's late in the evening, May the 5th now. Let's hop into the game and try to just have a rush in general as this goes. Um, yeah, my insomnia and crazy sleep schedule never gets right. It never sets itself right. So I was awake at like 8 or 9 in the morning, just about to fall asleep. Recording some Hyperlight Drifter, which resetting that game and playing it on easy does seem like it has a decent chance uh, to let me actually finish the game. That being said, I have now realized that instead of collecting 4 power nodes in each of the 4 regions, you actually need to collect 8, which is weird because so far the game has only really highlighted 5 of them, and so there's some possibility there that we will end up running around looking for things more than actually succeeding at things. Uh, and there's still room for rage quits because even having reset the game and knowing that you kind of need to have the maximum amount of health kits that you can hold and upgrading that as much as possible, it's really not still super helpful in the big difficulty spike fights, particularly if I wasn't playing this on easy. Yeah, I still would not be able to really do anything. The grenade is pretty much useless. There is a kind of infinite double dash that you need to get to actually progress through some sections fairly quickly. I think there's some sword attacks that also you need to upgrade fairly quickly. I did get the one private match, and um, it seems like there's a one private match per day event going on here, and I kind of failed that. I also finished the solo stuff. I don't think I highlighted that, but it must have automatically given me the reward. Um, so we are just like totally clear on the solo, so we don't have too much to do. Well, whatever slight adjustments I made does seem to have stopped the drop frames, although it also started, let's see, um, stopping, let's see, what is this? I guess this is probably a thing that goes away in a few hours, but just for safety's sake, let's go ahead and max out and buy all these packs now. So yeah, upgrading the number of bullets also will help you. There, uh, I am still very much struggling to figure out how to even get to the bosses on the left and the right side of Hyperlight Drifter. I was able to get to the boss in the up direction, and after a lot of struggle to beat that boss, I ended up with a shotgun. So I have to really question if there isn't some other kind of gun you're going to get after beating all the other bosses. There's 5 collectible slots for guns, which does imply to me that there's probably going to be 5 main bosses, each giving you a different kind of gun. And while a laser sighted shotgun is useful against the big bruisers, uh, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a scatter shot type gun that fires in 3 different directions or all the way around in circles. Uh, you can only carry 2, and so uh, at my current moment, having extra bullets for the shotgun and having extra bullets for the handgun is still the right move. we may also be at the point where this stops being in rotation. Although, maybe not. We'll just open one pack here. Although, in all honesty, I should just open about 10 packs here and try and get as close as possible. But yeah, it definitely feels like you need some kind of shielding technology, some kind of improvement. Yeah, right now I could open 17 packs. 17 is not the 46 I need to open, potentially, to get this to tradables. And by the time I get this to tradables, I won't be anywhere close to getting that to tradables, or that to tradables, or that to tradables in any way. So I feel like the tradables concept is a concept either extremely late game, or it's for people that play more on free to play, or more likely it's for people that have put in real world money. That being said, that did end up giving us a decent amount of things that we could liquefy. However, I don't know if any of that was new. And there's not really a way to check. Unless it was absolutely brand new. Like, apparently I got one new here and one new here. But none on that first page. Nothing here. Nothing here. There was something here. One new card there. So there was some new in that, which makes sense. Okay. So Discord, I have noticed, wants you to verify your phone to post in some forums now, and I don't know if I'd want to do that, frankly. I barely use Discord and pretty much don't need to use it at all. I don't feel like Discord has succeeded in any way. So, that does mean I can't, however, unless I do verify, make a private match and have other people play it. So while I could start a private match and hope somebody's watching and hope somebody wants to join on, that's not likely. Or I could bring up the Discord site and try to do the private matches. And I might do that later, but that's probably easier done off screen than anything else. For the moment, it's easiest just to go with Swordcraft or Runecraft. So if we look here, I bet I don't have a tournament Runecraft deck. Haven, Sanctuary, Havencraft. Let's see, spells, amulets. Yeah, I don't have a tournament Runecraft deck. So now would be a good time to see cards, decks, tournament winning, Runecraft. Let's see, spell Runecraft. How many cards am I missing? I'm missing about 12 of them. Exactly 12. How many am I missing here? 12. Okay, so either one would be fine. So let's go with this. Copy this. Sorry, I'm just having woken up. My throat is particularly in a bad place. So we'll have to just get rid of things we don't have. Which then that gives us 9. Is that it? Good. 9 cards. And then what we want is spell cards, I imagine. Or, you know what we probably would want better? It's just something that has the word spell in it. That way we can potentially choose whatever we want. So let's see, what does this do? Didn't mean to click on it. Subtract 1 cost for spell boost. So 3 of these probably is not a bad idea. We'll take 1 of those. I don't think we're doing that. Whims of Chaos, interesting card. We'll do 3 of those. We'll do 3 of 1 of those. And then take out a couple of those. Probably wouldn't hurt to have that in there. This is an interesting card. I want to try that. And then I guess the question comes down to, do I need anything cheap in this deck? I might need something cheap in this deck, but I think we'll live without it and see how this plays. Something like this probably wouldn't be terrible. See, you can definitely tell I'm trying harder now to actually build a deck instead of just randomly picking things, and that's why I don't want to spend an entire episode just making decks. Alright. 4/31. It's tourney spell. And I guess I'm just always going to use tourney as if that's a real word. So as far as the accountability section goes, all I've been doing is playing Hyperlight Drifter and sleeping, so I really don't have anything else to say there. No big rants or anything along that line as far as anything other than I'm still confused and frustrated around the idea of Hyperlight Drifter selling itself as a cross between Zelda and Diablo, because there's basically no Diablo elements that I can recognize in Hyperlight Drifter. And honestly, it's not even a good comparison to Zelda because even the original Legend of Zelda game is better laid out and gives you more items and is more interesting. I think it may even have a higher variety of enemies compared to Hyper Light Drifter. So it kind of falls horribly in comparison to the original NES Zelda game, even, which that is not where you want to be. As far as possible places you could be in comparison. Of course, you probably shouldn't compare your game to Zelda in the first place.
Nothing stops me once I got my speedy boots on.
So, I think the goal here is to probably put dutiful steeds on the field as fast as possible. And play them and use them. So, if I'm not careful, I'm gonna have to mute and cough really bad. So here we go. Play this and then play this next turn.
Justice finds a way.
The big news is on this week's Giant Bombcast on Tuesday, Brad, the guy that was falling asleep on the Bombcast several years ago until they put him in charge of leading the Bombcast, and then he led the Bombcast but never really had anything to say. Vinny, who was the guy in charge of the Beastcast and would lead the Beastcast, and I forget his name, the depressive drummer, who technically I suppose was the boss, but there's some questionableness, frankly, as to whether he was really doing any work or not. But everybody who is on-air talent, effectively, from the Bombcast and the Beastcast, has announced that they're quitting on Friday. Now, that is certainly somewhat cryptic, and it leaves a lot of room for speculation as to why. There is some factors, certainly, that you could use in your calculation, but it's all going to be speculation, kind of going from this point. They did the Bombcast, and they kind of talked in generalities about their experience at Bombcast in the past, hyping it up mostly, and then Vinny did most of the talking, and in the second half he kind of went into a bit of a rant that might be an indication of why they're leaving. But there's several factors here. It is worth mentioning that the main guy in charge, Jeff, who is the only living original founder of Giant Bomb, is staying on. But that might not really mean anything, because it very much could have been a case that these were contracted issues when GameStop and Giant Bomb were bought by Redfin Entertainment. And so, yeah, this is pretty much exactly 6 months after Giant Bomb and GameStop were acquired. So it very much could have been that they were on a temporary kind of 6 months contract, and then they were given offers that they didn't like, either in pay or terms. Honestly, at first, glance, it does kind of feel like they were given pay pay amounts that they didn't want. It is worth also mentioning that Jeff Bakalar does not work for Giant Bomb. He's kind of some upper management, which he kind of had to be because he was higher management at CNET too. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is going to be some kind of merger between CNET Games, GameSpot, and Giant Bomb, which makes sense. Like, one of the biggest issues, certainly with Giant Bomb, is literally the name of it. And I could see some upper management, and we definitely heard some talk that it seems like there is potentially an upper management of Redfin who has made a declaration that really pissed off the people. But that declaration could have been as much as you need to actually do some work, because let's not put it all on Redfin in this speculation, because it may very well be that Redfin said you guys need to cover at least one thing a month, and a lot of the people at Giant Bomb have been phoning it in. It is also worth mentioning that two of the lower employees, Abby and Ben, had already quit Giant Bomb, which pretty much leaves some behind the scenes guys who will probably get just transferred over anyways, and the original founder guy. It could also be that this has nothing to do with pay or work conditions or any kind of contract with Redfin. It could be that this was their plan all along, to give it a try and then go and do their own thing. They're all old. Like, it would be very weird to see any of them end up at G4, in the middle of G4, like hiring a VTuber. Code Miko was just hired to be a presenter on G4. Like, G4 is going forward with new people. They're not looking for old people. Like, so it very much could be that they're just old and they just want to retire, and they just want to start their own podcast and they want to get out of the video game aspects. It's not like they've been doing work. They've all been protecting each other like crazy. As far as covering up, it could be, if we want to get conspiratorial, it could be somebody at Redfin told them they couldn't blacklist people anymore. Because let's be honest, in the background, they didn't make it obvious. Giant Bomb has been blacklisting and still fighting the fight in some small effort towards Gamergate, and because that still rings in their ears, they definitely probably have been blacklisting and people and blocking conversations on the Giant Bomb forum. I wouldn't be surprised if they still have secret meetings. I would be surprised if the truth really came out that they are fairly highly corrupt and very close to a lot of video game people. We know they are very close. They did once have Adam Sessler on the Bombcast, but only once. So I don't feel like they had heavy conversations or anything that would potentially bring them to G4. And frankly, they don't need to specifically go to G4 because each one of them could end up at Kotaku or Polygon or any other particularly liberal Gamergate supporting platform. They could create their own platform if they want to still do video games, but do they even need a platform, or could they potentially get enough following just starting their own Twitch streaming channels and doing things out of their house. Um, like there's probably not much of an office, if any office, in New York, and I wouldn't be surprised if Redfin simply didn't want to bother with having an office both in New York and California, although I don't know why that specifically would mean that they would shut down the New York office. Right now in the pandemic, yeah, working out of New York has shown itself to be a stupid way to do business anyways. So yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. It could very well be a case that only one of those three people initially instigated the idea of leaving, and at a as an act of solidarity, the other two people decided to leave also, or that seed and that thought just grew in the minds of other people until all three of them decided to leave. I do believe at least two of them did just start a podcast, so that maybe they just want to go all in on the podcast. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation. One thing that does get rambled about in the Bombcast and then gets repeated in similar ways in Dan Riker's kind of react video on his own Twitter/YouTube video, Twitch YouTube video, which I happen to catch, is the idea that it was said twice is that upper management does not have a clue what they're doing, which definitely, to me, when two people speak in generalities and say the same thing, that might be an indication of what's going on. Vinny literally said that the upper management doesn't know what they're doing and they're going to literally get them killed, which makes me think that one conspiracy theory you could certainly think here is that it's possible, we really don't know, that none of them were actually using their real names, or that they were hiding their office address in something like that. So if a manager came back and said, you guys need to use your real names, no more hiding behind these fake stage names. Now that seems kind of crazy that anybody would demand a change to this, but if it were in a longer rules of ethical journalism that were handed down, and they in general just didn't like the being told that they have to be ethical journalists, which, let's face it, no mainstream video game journalist has been ethical. Maybe there is something to that maybe they weren't using their real names, and maybe they've been told they have to use their real names, and maybe they didn't want that. Or maybe they were told that they were going to put out the like direct contact information or direct PO box or office address, or maybe they had been demanding this whole time for security in the facilities, which that's not crazy to have a security guard in an office. Almost certainly there are some crazy people out there that have sent threats towards people in Giant Bomb, almost certainly. But that it is very SJW to say, oh, somebody's attacking me, oh, I'm at risk, when some crazy person says that. Like, usually you just create a crazy file and you send that file to the police. Maybe you don't even bother to do that.
A glimpse into the future is
And then the police never investigated, of course, because it doesn't ever turn out to be anything. And like the one time it does turn out to be something, it would have still been drowned in the list of all the other crazy people who say crazy things. Teenagers, like preteens, putting crazy things on the forum. But yeah, nobody's actively really trying to get the Giant Bomb crew. That would be silly. But that might be their excuse. I would more lean in the conspiracy theory to the thought that they are going to change Giant Bomb's name. Like, that would make a lot of sense to me. Is that they don't want the word bomb in their name. So they are going to potentially change it. I wouldn't be surprised if it were some kind of merger with GameSpot and CNET. I wouldn't be surprised if it just becomes CNET Games, and a lot of what Giant Bomb's personality was gets erased. What is Giant Bomb's personality really at this point? Because for the past at least 4 years, it's been kind of laziness, kind of doing nothing. It hasn't been good. I've been saying actively for at least 6 months that I needed to stop listening to the Giant Bomb, Bombcast and Beastcast, because I was not really paying any attention to it, nor was I really enjoying it. So, yeah. I could see a merger there. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have that many websites around video games. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to have a video game review website that isn't being run particularly tightly anyways. I bet the forums, I bet the Wikipedia, I bet all of that stays. It'd be really crazy if the Wikipedia or the forums got taken down. But I could see an argument to getting rid of the forums in general. Particularly if there's like some kind of concern for a need of age verification that just hasn't previously existed on forums. It would be very easy to see a forum anywhere say, alright, we need you to verify your age to comply with law, and then that's what like Google is doing. So I could see that. I don't know how useful the Wikipedia has been these days. It is somewhat useful, but also if I was going to try and get information about video games that are particularly old, I probably wouldn't be using Giant Bomb's Wikipedia. If I was going to get information about games that are particularly new, I probably wouldn't be using Giant Bomb's Wikipedia. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to concede here, which is fine because I'm gonna lose anyways, and I'm gonna have to run to the bathroom. Alright, let's see. Quit. Quit.
You've won this one.
So, yeah. Apologies, this is part of the problem of waking up early. I will be right back. Sorry about that. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Well, then we'll try that again. Jump into the game. See, and inherently, to wrap up Giant Bomb, everybody leaving Giant Bomb, like, well, you could just make, frankly, an entire list of everybody that's left Giant Bomb, and excluding the one person that died. I suppose that's the only way anybody ever could leave Giant Bomb, is either to eventually leave the place or for the whole place to be shut down. So And as a property, I just don't think it ever would fully be shut down. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to merge it and make it like the giant GameSpot and actually called it something stupid like that. Yeah, still trying to get victories. Which that wouldn't be crazy. Like try to save the giant branding somewhat, but you got to get rid of the bomb. The bomb problem has consistently been an issue. Even people on Giant Bomb have consistently said they've had issues getting through airports and TSA with stickers and logos that say Giant Bomb on them.
Don't underestimate me.
And they've remade the Giant Bomb character several times in an attempt to make it more cartoony, to only moderate success. But yeah, in general, there is just kind of pointlessness around the speculation when I bet in less than 6 months we will know, in part, for the most part, all that we're ever going to know, and whatever we're going to know is going to be slightly interesting and slightly boring. When it comes down to it, if that whole crew, including the people that didn't leave, the background people and Jeff, if all of them split off and created a whole new website, would I really want to go and listen to them? I don't think so. I think as a group, they are frankly boring at this point. I don't know there's any other nicer way to say it. They've gotten old, they've gotten boring, they've gotten tired, they needed fresh blood. They've constantly needed fresh blood for years. Every time they tried to bring in fresh blood, it has failed kind of miserably. Because that fresh blood has either been forced to do a significant amount of the work because they were lazy, and I think that probably is part of the factor there, is that you have a lot of lazy employees. And I'm really not anyone to call anybody lazy. Like, you can certainly make that accusation against me too. But that's what it feels like, is that they are not good at making content. At the very least, to give myself some credit, I've been able to manage at least one episode of something every Monday through Friday. Giant Bomb can't do that with 5 people. Well, yeah, 4 or 5 people. They can't get even a single quick look out every single Monday and Wednesday and Friday. They have no interest in covering things. Like, and there's plenty of things to cover. There's plenty of old games they could have gone back and looked at. There's plenty of games they could have replayed. And maybe all of that is hidden behind their paywall system, and I just don't see that stuff. That is a possibility, but from a free player perspective, from a non-paying person's perspective of Giant Bomb, that they have no content coming out. They can't even live stream as much as I live stream. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm doing at least 3 hours of live streams. Giant Bomb has a bombcast that's pre-recorded that's about 3 hours on Tuesday, and a Beastcast that originally was on Friday for about 2.5, maybe 3 hours on Thursday. And then they are pretty much radio silent with the occasional spotlight. Where it would be so easy, frankly, to have people either say what they're doing, which is what the Bombcast originally was, and they haven't been saying what they've been doing because they haven't been doing anything. But yeah, you could have had them say what they're doing, or you could have had them, I should have played Insight first, have them all just spotlight the same game. It would be fine if 4 different people decided to play Returnal and check it out and make a spotlight of that. It would be perfectly fine if those were only 30-minute spotlights, and then maybe you merge the 4 I'm calling them spotlights, they call them quick looks, didn't they? You merge those 4 different people's quick looks into a that's almost certainly not what I needed to evolve, but whatever. But yeah, you could have each of them do that. And at least you'd be making some content. At least you'd be doing something. There is also definitely some problems with just how Giant Bomb runs its recordings. It is using the old technology. Let's see. Impalement arts. Interesting. So I could do this. If I could find a way to reduce the cost of this, I could potentially do 1 damage over and over again. That'd be interesting. But let's not do that next turn. Yeah, I like they really do need to reset. They really need to just all like have new fresh blood as far as Giant Bomb, and maybe that is really what they're gonna do, is they're gonna just fire everybody and bring in some cheaper people who will actually work. Let's see. Should I do that? I think so. Otherwise I'm gonna... What? Oh, that messed up terribly. Okay, well, we'll hit that. And then this will be destroyed, so we should play that. Yeah, as this breaks down, you need to be able to either spell boost a card 5 times automatically, or you could at most do 9 damage on the 10th turn. Okay. Hit that. And then you hit that. And then do that. Then I guess you evolve that.
My bolts are too fast. I'll fry you to crisp.
So yeah, let's move on. That is really, as much as the big news is, I think you could get into rapid speculation that although I still think it probably was just a new contract or negotiation thing what broke down, would be my guess. It's money or work conditions, almost certainly, that they didn't want to agree to, more than some grander conspiracy of
You don't stand a chance.
of a manager demanding something that's really crazy.
A fitting end.
Like, if I was gonna build a new G4, if I was gonna build my own channel, well, I don't even know why I said G4. If I'm just gonna build my own channel and I had an infinite amount of money, I'm not going to Giant Bomb's employees and looking to hire any of them. Not a single one. What they do on the back end using basically football streaming technology, instead of just using cheaper open source OBS, like they may be able to do a little bit more better, but they ran up the bill by probably millions of dollars by using that technology, which in all fairness at the beginning of Giant Bomb probably made sense. Now it makes no sense at all. It would be so easy to find 4 or 5 willing video game critics to work together and make a podcast. I could easily see, if I had infinite money, hiring PewDiePie and a collection of his friends to get on a podcast and talk to each other and talk about whatever games. You see that in like the Mindcrack group,
Don't
where
underestimate me.
it's
You must
7 to
not.
12 different Minecrafters, all playing Minecraft on the same server, all playing only that game for years and years and succeeding fairly well at that. Plus, Mindcrack, as much as it is successful, isn't beholden to too many celebrities there. I'd say Mumbo Jumbo is probably the most popular one, so I guess if you lost Mumbo Jumbo from the Minecraft group, there might be a little bit of a pain point there, but not by much. What I would particularly want to do, just because of my own personality, is find people that are trying their very best to be objective and professional video game critics and not just people playing video games. So I might have a bit of a struggle finding some young, enterprising, energetic people to do that. I feel like I probably could easily hire, if I was going to make my own replacement for Giant Bomb, I could easily hire somebody who's only into it for about a year or so and then leaves, which I think that's probably true for a lot of G4 hires too, is that so I might try to find some people that are a little bit established but not crazy. I would try to be kind of more culturally diverse, as it were, diverse in thought. But so I would try to go both ways. I'd probably try to have somebody who is not an crazy annoying SJW, but somebody who leans heavy left. Although honestly, and I'd probably try to balance it out with somebody who leans heavily right, but is also not super annoying. Because you can even hear in my own streams, I go, anyways, video games, not politics. So we try to get away from a lot of that. And those were conversations, certainly, to get back to Giant Bomb for a brief second, that were happening in the secrets. And those secret conversations were affecting the content that was being made on the website.
Nothing stops me once I got my speedy boots on.
Let's see.
Mana, come forth.
I always catch the varmint.
Okay.
Eventually.
2 damage to an enemy. And then hit that.
You crusty horseshoe.
And then hit that.
Should have been quicker.
And then in the turn. So, speaking of G4, let's move away from Giant Bomb and try and not get back to it, because really there's nothing to say. G4 apparently is going to be presenting D&D Live, Dungeons and Dragons. So they are in the pocket of Big Hasbro, as it were. Which I suppose is probably a good thing. We are going to see, I think, the idea of G4 trying to be as big and as corporate as possible, and we need something like that. There needs to be one.
This isn't your run-of-the-mill spell.
But like there really needs to only be one. And then the real question though is, if it is going to go big and corporate like that, is it going to possibly end up actually being on TV? Because it really doesn't feel like G4 is ever going to manage to get on TV. For what little that means for the new generation, it still means something for the old generation. And I certainly could see that even now some kids would be allowed to watch TV while not being allowed to be on the internet or YouTube. Like the concept of screen time, as it is, usually implies all screen, but it doesn't guarantee that that's always how it's gonna work. Okay, do this. And then do that. Wow.
Should have been quicker. I am beyond prophecy.
So here's the new host, Code Miko. There was a like French Canadian cartoon called Code Lyoko, but this is just a J virtual tuber, which in this case it basically means that there is someone running software to change their appearance and sitting in a chair. They're big things in Japan at the moment, but Japan is very fad centric, and clearly this is a VTuber that is going to go in the extreme and be crazy, and it is a weird direction to go, certainly, but I think now would be the time to experiment with things like that before G4 actually ends up being whatever it is. Whatever it is still the real question. Is we don't know really what they're planning on doing. Try that.
Ready to summon.
Let's try this.
To find a brighter future for everyone.
This is
Go ahead and hit that, I guess. And then attack that.
Prophecy.
And then in the turn. Yeah. I suppose that would be what I would do with, if I was going to expand my channel, is and turn it into a group. I would have, say, one channel that has all the content, and then maybe 4 channels that has one specific creator's content, and have them each Monday through Friday release something. I still very much would think from the perspective of trying to have at least 3 episodes airing kind of like a prime time. How did I lose, actually? That is a good question. And maybe that doesn't work. And then I would make a podcast on top of that. But I certainly wouldn't try to paywall all of it onto my own site and host my own video if I could avoid that at all. That the fact that Giant Bomb does host a ton of its own video on its own servers is crazy. I don't think creating a new wiki is worth doing. Really.
Don't underestimate me.
And I don't think running a forum is particularly worth doing that much, as someone who started the Discord and nobody ever used it, including myself. So, like, I'd probably not run anything like that. I would actively want to get on TV in some form or fashion, even if I'm just getting my footage of my own personal G4, even if it's just airing in the middle of the night, which is probably a great time instead of paid programming. If that was just getting aired instead, I think that would be great. But I don't know if you could convince local TV stations or national cable, extended cable stations to do that and make any money doing it. But yeah. It is kind of surprising we have yet to see somebody run a TV commercial promoting a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel. And that probably is because the TV channels don't accept those kinds of commercials. They don't want that competition. But yeah. At a certain point, you almost would expect the entertainment block in news shows, which a lot of news shows don't have entertainment blocks anymore, or never did. But during the daytime shows, there in the morning news, there have been entertainment blocks talking about movies and musics. That has always been cross promotion stuff. So it would have made a lot of sense for that to just be expanded into news shows, and that there would have just been some lucky person that got to be the video game critic to sit alongside the movie critic and the music critic and talk about games that had come out. But we haven't really seen that because TV's getting trounced by video games. We have seen some late night shows have people play video games as advertisements a little bit, but usually that's only if EA or Ubisoft or some huge company pays them to do it. Nobody actively seems to be interested in that, which it does make an interesting argument as far as I don't know how interested the next generation of people who run TV shows, TV news shows will be, assuming that even exists as a thing. I would, although in all fairness, it's very possible that the news anchors and the news reporters right now aren't really interested in what they're talking about, and they are just pandering to whatever their older editor tells them to pander to. Yeah. Anyways, that's enough rambling. Let's start going through some games. Here we have a game on Steam called 31st Prototype, which There's a game that seems like they can't even get a screenshot without cropping it. Looks like it's a hand-drawn Chinese adventure game. They're calling it a puzzle game for $1.79. 30 minutes of gameplay. That's not good enough for a follow. Let's see. Let me see if this is YouTube family friendly. Seems to be. Next we have a low effort platformer hack and slash called Vitality Girl with the asset of an anime girl. $3.59. I imagine if I was going to do a long running TV channel, I probably would have spotlights of games that are coming out on Steam as commercials. And now, at a certain point, I don't know how you can convince people to pay you to look at a new game, particularly trash asset flip games. But yeah, if there was, say, 30 minutes of gameplay, or, well, if you were going to do a 30-minute TV show, that's really 22 minutes, and then there's usually a first break, and then a second break, and a third break. So if in each of those breaks you spotlighted a game and had, or you had a video game news minute, that's where you might very well break up and have commercials in your TV-like channel without actually being able to sell commercials. And at a certain point, you would actually have commercials too, or you'd want commercials too, to actually make some revenue on that. And that would be great, particularly if you had a cable channel, extended cable channel that could cut out YouTube. Plus, if you were doing an extended cable channel, you could severely, you wouldn't have to censor anywhere as much. Then you would definitely want to go with esports, and you would definitely want to go with long esports games and streams. And you definitely would want to have some commentators talking over esports games. And so that could take up a lot of time too. And honestly, if I had infinite money, I would buy the back catalog of G4. And I would re-air old X-Plays. I would re-air old things. I would have a throwback segment just for nostalgia reasons. I would throw in arcade and pinball and things like that, since I've been obsessed with that lately. Like that's a different angle and a different type of gaming. I would throw in card games. I would throw in anything that's even slightly digital, or maybe not digital at all. Like, we really don't need to have a hard barrier between physical and digital games. There's plenty of people playing in chess tournaments and canasta tournaments, and if you could get that footage cheap and air it on your channel, new content is golden. Clearly, if you look at my own YouTube channel, making as much content as possible has always been my priority. Like, even if it's not good content, even if it's not edited content, the main priority is something new to see, because there's always somebody who wants to see something new. Or at least that's where I came from. Here we have a game on Steam called The World After, and it looks fine. It's kind of like a realistic, like, either full motion video or screenshot game. And then you get to this screenshot here, which makes no sense at all. Why all of a sudden you're inside a visual novel, inside a point and click visual, visual novel, really. That seems crazy. Like, in all reality, a full motion video adventure game is very similar to a visual novel. And so that's a weird screenshot to have. $10.79 English and French. See, the problem here is you want your screenshots to represent what the content is. It seems like a whole visual novel to unlock as bonus should just be a bonus, not a screenshot to highlight. The full motion video sells this game. This confuses the issue. Crazy. Regardless, I'll put it on the follow list. Let's see. TakeRaptor has an article. Sony has lost its appeal over a PlayStation Plus collection sharing in Brazil. So, what had happened was they were trying to shut down a Brazilian person's account who was, I believe, sharing his PlayStation Plus because he was sharing his account. He was allowing other users to share his PlayStation Plus collection games without those users paying a subscription fee, and that is against the terms of service of PlayStation Plus. But the San Pablo Court of Justice disagreed, stating that neither this specific rule nor the punishment for breaking it are clear enough in the terms of service, and as such, the court has upheld the ruling. So basically, you have huge corporation Sony here, and they're still writing garbage rule terms of services, which that's not super surprising. Like, the truth is, lawyers kind of suck when it comes to writing contracts, and contracts as a concept kind of suck in general. And so that is the reason why contracts are super long and written in ridiculous language and kind of hugely repetitive and covering every single topic. Because there is really no reason why Sony wouldn't have had a good enough contract. And more than likely what this is that the terms of service specifically in Brazil was written badly because they hired some kind of cheap law firm in Brazil. Brazil in general, not a big fan of big corporations, foreign corporations in general. So it's not surprising that they would support one of their own. There's a lot of poverty and a lot of scamming because of poverty in Brazil, which almost certainly, while this instance doesn't really feel much like a scam, it feels like somebody being enterprising, and it kind of is a direct example of how big corporations are actively trying to own every single way anyone could succeed or profit. And thus, the idea of this Brazilian person pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and potentially charging someone or just being friendly and sharing his account. You have this big corporation that is effectively trying to punish somebody for daring to not pay them more money. And they are totally willing to go all the way to an appeals court, specifically just to have the right to shut down somebody who dared to share their account. And I imagine you would probably see if Netflix wasn't a little bit was a little bit meaner or greedier of a company, I imagine you'd see Netflix kind of do the same thing where it's like if Netflix started to try and shut down people who were sharing their family accounts across multiple households, there would probably be lawsuits, and in America, that Netflix would probably succeed. Was Brazil? Inherently, courts are supposed to do the least amount of harm or the most amount of good if they can actually ever accomplish that, which is usually a big if. And in the United States in particular, it isn't really the case. It is almost always a case of them siding with whoever has the most money. Like, the truth is, if you have the most money, you can afford the most lawyers, you can win a case or drag out a case until a settlement if you are just in such a terrible position that you can never win.
Ready to summon.
So yeah, Sony's failing miserably there. Let's see. TechRaptor also has an article here. Morrowind May Modathon celebrates 19 years of Morrowind. Yep. As someone who has played Skyrim twice in his life, that it is kind of insane to me that anybody would play Morrowind. But I probably would go and play Morrowind if there was a remaster. There probably is a mod that could make it look pretty decent, but I kind of think it needs a full remake, not just a remaster. But also, I think a remake of Elder Scrolls 1, 2, 3, and then getting to Skyrim would make a lot of sense. Again, just reboot the whole series. They're taking so long to make the next Elder Scrolls game anyways. Let's see. This. And then this. And then this. And that. And then hit that, I suppose. And hit that. We'll just go ahead and evolve that. Yep. Theoretically, that is what I would like to see. I'd like to see Steam, Microsoft, now owning ZeniMax and Bethesda, say, hey, we've got to revitalize and reuse our old content. So bring out the Fallout games and remake them. Bring out the Elder Scrolls and remake them. Microsoft has teams, almost certainly some of those teams and companies they've acquired could be given work if they have no new IP to work on. You bring all of those to the Unreal Engine in particular and remake them, and you would be able to have full remakes of those games play on cell phones, and that would be very nostalgic and very interesting. Revitalize it, much in the way that they tried to do with like the Universal Monsters, and kind of failed with that. But yeah, use that content, do something with it. I think specifically for original Fallout games and original Elder Scrolls games, you can get enough fanboys to buy that. Next we have a game on Steam called Redditum, which looks like it's a laser 3D puzzle game. It doesn't look polished enough to interest me though. It's just a little too generic. This might be a case where watching the video might show me a little bit more, but no. Early access, $6.99, English, Turkish. They're saying it's similar to Mirror's Edge. I don't know why. I don't know why they would think Mirror's Edge and Portal are anywhere close. Here we have a game on Steam called A Strange City. Yeah, I suppose if I was making my own G4 extended cable channel and we were going to look at every single game, I would probably invest in automating this. That's so that it's not just the same, so somebody wouldn't even have to really read all of this out loud, but it probably wouldn't hurt too much to have a intern or somebody just once a day read a dozen of these pages and describe them. And they don't even have to give an opinion. I know I often give opinions looking at these games, but it could be completely tone balanced. It could be in the sense that you could just say nothing, and you could have somebody say, hey, this is the G4 minute, or I don't know why I call it G4, but yeah, let's use that example. Hey, this is the G4 minute, and today we're looking at A Strange City. This came out May 5th, 2021. It is tagged as a casual action arcade side-scroller. Here are all the screenshots, as we can see. And see, we would definitely want to change it from Steam's page and make it just full screen on the screenshots. It is an early access game selling right now, discounted by 40% down to $1.79. It supports English, French. No, you probably wouldn't want to read out all these languages. You should probably just say supports all the languages listed down below the screen. And then you would read the ad copy here. It has 10 achievements. And then you would have things pop up on the screen like the minimum system requirements, which I don't even mention. But yeah, you could definitely, in a minute, if you move fast enough, show a game like that, talk about it without giving an opinion, and then there's your commercial, there's your advertisement, there's the promotion of video games to video gamers, which yeah, there is something to that idea, but on YouTube that idea doesn't really work. Because if I made minute-long episodes, you would never be able to put any real ads or advertisements to them. So I'd have to make these minute-long commercials integrated into my other content, which would be kind of weird. Like, it would be the, hey, let's talk about Raid Shadow Legends type experience that nobody really likes. I am not winning at all, so I am going to abandon this tournament and see if we can just win with amulets or spells. But yeah, also having minute-long videos on your YouTube channel would probably hurt your watch time insanely bad. They want you to have 10 to 30 minutes to maybe an hour long videos, but probably not even an hour long, which I've been hurting my channel so significantly by having longer than 30-minute episodes, and I can't get past it. I can't be bothered to try to break up an episode that is shorter than 45 minutes. Most games don't even have anything that interesting happening in every 45-minute chunk. Here we have a game on Steam called A Snake in a Maze, which that is just a snake game. $3.59, English and German. TechRaptor has an article. Blizzard and Fox are in a fight over a dog named Diablo. So there is this upcoming animated series apparently called Housebroken, and the dog is going to be named Diablo. And what I mean by when I say is going to be named Diablo, I mean is going to be named Diablo. There is literally no way that Blizzard is going to succeed with the idea that they own the name Diablo as a trademark in every form of animation. I don't think that they legitimately would have a argument to own Diablo even in the category of interactive video games, let alone animation in general. There is almost 100% certainty that Diablo has been used as a name of a character in old black and white cartoons, Mickey Mouse era 1940s cartoons. There's almost certainly been hand-drawn books that have been made with characters named Diablo, which that would also be in the field of animation as far as trademarks. Blizzard definitely does not have a copyright around the word Diablo. Even if their trademark was somehow upheld and not just utterly destroyed as it should be in this case, there is zero chance of confusion at all. This is a ridiculous legal case for them to even fight. That it seems like Blizzard, as is falling apart at the seams, is potentially trying to just maybe get some settlement money. That's the only thing I could think of. But they're burning bridges too, because Activision Blizzard could have done business with Fox, as it were. Fox TV, Fox Movies. A Diablo live action or animated movie made by Fox is not off the table as an idea. That probably would work fairly nicely. So why make enemies on such a terrible case? Unless there's just something I don't understand. As an armchair legal follower of the law, like I cannot see a single scenario here where that would make sense.
Told you what a snake you are?
Justice finds a way.
It does seem really, really dumb. Interrupter also has Total War Warhammer 3 leaks reveal gameplay details. Which, okay. Total War Warhammer 3 might be a good game, might not. It'll be a long time before we see any real actual gameplay footage. Here we have a game on Steam called Fine Dark, which looks like it might be seizure inducing with all that flickering of the lights. And otherwise it's just a dark screenshot horror asset flip probably game. Early access $24.99, ridiculously expensive. Let's see. Well, we got the rapid fire, but they killed that guy.
Embrace your vast potential.
Earth and assault.
Let's go ahead and attack there.
Opportunities abound.
See, next we have a game called Darkness Arrives, which is tagged as a time management RPG, 3D platformer game, which none of that seems accurate. $7.99, English only. Clearly it's just a garbage asset flip game.
Keeps the doctor away. You're in good hands.
See. There's some Gamma Sutra blogs here I'm trying to mostly ignore. Like they have a blog here, storytelling through skill trees, and then they have an image of Jesus breaking. What would buff Jesus do, I suppose is what this is. That's a funny image, but this seems like a blog where somebody just looked up some funny images to write. For Kama Sutra, this is a fairly long blog, having 4 or 5 paragraphs. Okay.
A galaxy of gems tumbles and twirls.
Let's see. Hit that.
What's with the cup?
Hit that.
Earth and assault.
Good. Do we want to evolve here?
Mana, come forth. The earth will trample earth and assault.
Hit that, I suppose. See. Yeah, we have a game on Steam called On Space, which looks like a top-down space shoot-'em-up game. They're calling it a simulation puzzle game. These tags are awful. 59 cents English only. Yeah, I suppose if anything, instead of making a Wikipedia, if I had an infinite amount of time, energy, and money, I would definitely try to make a new storefront to augment or work with Steam in some way. Like, I mean, you definitely aren't going to be able to fully compete with Steam, but if you could offer something that says, hey, we have figured out how to curate what's on our storefront, and this is the best of Steam collection, or here is a plugin, and that may be all there is. Here's a plugin that actually runs through some algorithms. And there might be something to that idea, to have maybe a Metacritic type website where we've curated actual game reviewers that we trust, who have done a lot of reviews of a lot of games on Steam, and that we can point out good games versus just randomly looking at like the Steam curation field. It really probably would be one of those businesses just waiting to be acquired back by Valve, but we have seen websites that would just spin random wheels and tell you a game to check out, and Steam has introduced similar ideas.
I serve in hopes of a better tomorrow.
Let's see.
Lawful evil. Chaotic good.
So yeah, there might be a website type thing there, particularly if it started off as, hey, we're critics and we're going to criticize games, but we're also going to point you directly towards those games, and we're also going to try and have a curated list of games that we really recommend, and try to have kind of like a journey experience. Here, this is your life in video games from the age of 12 to 112, as it were. Let's see, well, enemy followers, of which there's none. 3 damage to all enemies. I have to kind of evolve that if I'm going to evolve anything, and so
Wrongdoing? Me? Perish the thought.
then play that,
Light. What do we have here?
play that. just play that. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Pincushion, which seems like you're just trying to shoot the pins into the pincushion without hitting the pins, which is not super hard to do, really. It would get more difficult. This game is tagged as a visual novel, 59 cents English only. Ridiculous. Next, we have a game on Steam called Twin Jump, which, yep, this seems like you control both balls as they jump from either side. 59 cents English only. It's probably just the left mouse button and the right mouse button. See, that was tagged as puzzles, and it's not really a puzzle game. Techraptor has the Biomutant Star Wars trailer is a perfect shout. It was May the 4th yesterday, so May the 4th be with you. As an idea, was once again not really celebrated by Disney to any real extent, or anybody else who would actually make any Star Wars content. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to get around to buying the Golden Week sale stuff on Steam, which I assume is still going on. Could do 3 damage here.
You don't stand a chance.
Of course, I could just also win. Yeah. So yeah, I would say fairly disappointing. May the 4th.
That should do it.
There I think have been some teases of the next Star Wars stuff. No, it's been Marvel stuff they've been teasing. Which, can you kill Star Wars, really? That is the ultimate question. Can the powerhouse, can the juggernaut of Disney kill Star Wars? Because it kind of feels like they'd like to. Kind of feels like they'd be much happier with their with the Marvel universe, which has been much more successful. When intelligently, you would want to slow down the release of Marvel movies and make them slightly better so every single one stood out and was amazingly good. No duds in Marvel and no duds in Star Wars. Have an A year and a B year. This year we're going to get Star Wars. Next year we're going to get Marvel. That is theoretically what you would want to do. I know Disney would love to just have Marvel and Star Wars movies fill up the movie theaters, but that's not gonna work. But at the moment it does kind of feel like they are totally not doing anything with Star Wars. That it is totally a dead idea, and they had no ideas even with the reboot. I can't think of an original concept that was well implemented or even thrown out there as an idea. See, well, let's do this then.
What masterpiece will I create today? Justice finds a way.
Moving on, because I really don't have anything to say about Star Wars. In the same way Disney doesn't have anything to say about Star Wars, I don't have anything to say about it. Humble Bundle sliders are returning after the backlash. I'm not sure if that really makes me want to go back to them. I mean, for me in particular, it was a good straw that broke the camel's back as far as looking at Humble Bundles, but for my collection in particular, trying to buy Humble Bundles had been kind of falling. And they also said that they were going to reiterate on it at some point in the future. So here you can see the Humble Bundle sliders are here to stay for now. So they're going to try and get rid of them. Obviously. They've already tried to get rid of them. And I think that is good enough reason to just stay away from Humble Bundle games going forward.
I serve in hopes of a better tomorrow.
Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. Call of Duty Warzone mobile drive 70% jump in Activision revenue, which gave it a record Q1. MAUs, monthly acquisition units, or mobile acquisition units. It's just saying MAUs and not explaining what that stands for, which is what a website, a news reporting website should explain, is what words stand for. Let's see. The Call of Duty developer Sledgehammer Games has opened a new Toronto studio, according to Gamma Sutra. Suppose if I was going to run a G4 like TV channel, I probably would have to pay people to be on a news desk and actually act like they are getting their news from more trusted sources than simply other news reporting websites. I don't know if you can really pull that off too much in video games, but that is what you would want to do. You don't want to potentially see 4 damage. All right. You don't want to potentially have CNN reporting Fox News, reporting MSNBC, reporting ABC, but it is kind of how it tends to break down, even in regular news, is that they are mostly all reporting around whatever the Associated Press says. And the Associated Press for video games wouldn't be a terrible thought as an idea. Although, on the other hand, I think if I was going to make a website that was a collection of people I trusted to report on news, I would be blacklisting a lot of people and not including a lot of people. I would definitely be would need to be honest about that and say, hey, this is my curation. These are the people I trust. This is not a random assortment of people, or anybody who wants to speak is allowed. It's not like a public forum. It is, because I couldn't really enjoy that idea at all. Do I draw 2 cards when I do this? No, I don't, so that was a mistake. And so yeah, you'd have to be careful to say, hey, these are the people I hired, these are the people I trust, these are their opinions. We're not just reporting what everyone else reports. I wouldn't want to make a YouTube, a website or anything like that felt the need to repeat every crazy SJW article talking about how The Last of Us 2 is the best game ever, or something like that, or whatever they're talking about lately. Let's go and kill that.
Oh yeah, this party owns bones.
I feel like I had something else I wanted to say on that point, but oh yeah, I was also going to say what I'm talking about, potentially starting a website and having a collection of trusted news reporters. That happened. Like, there was a YouTuber that tried to do that. A YouTuber way more popular than me, way more successful than me. Somebody who claims, at least, to have way more experience as far as running a business and ad sales in particular. And that whole website kind of failed to succeed. And got shut down. And it probably does highlight a factor that places like Giant Bomb, when it doesn't have that established fandom from 10, 20 years ago, just cannot succeed. That old way of doing things does not work. Where everything should be video now, everything should be on some video platforms, probably Twitch or YouTube. Like if I really wanted to succeed, I would get a bunch of like Twitch thoughts to definitely be on the shows. I would say, hey, you're just gonna be a presenter. You don't have to know any games or anything. You're just gonna present, you're gonna collect your paycheck, and you're gonna be slightly more presentable than a normal Twitch thought, in the sense that you're going to be normally clothed and just reading off a screen prompter. I imagine plenty of the Twitch thoughts would love to get away from the pretense of sitting in a gamer chair and pretending like they can play video games or playing the video games badly. I imagine they would love that. If you just had a bunch of them and had them kind of like Elvira present footage, as it were, not that they need to look like Elvira with the big beehive hairdo or anything like that. They can look their normal way, but just take them to where their expertise is, which is to sell themselves and be presenters. There is a lot more honesty when you look at some of the Asian car shows and before they were no longer allowed, the E3 girls, where those actors, actresses were just there to be pretty and catch people's attention, and they were selling themselves on their appearance, and they worked hard on their appearance by exercising and being healthy and being genetically lucky in part. So yeah, I wouldn't be upset with more honesty in it compared to where we've gotten to with Twitch, where it is just this lie, the lie everybody knows is a lie, that these people are good commentators. Twitch thoughts are good commentators on video games or good at playing the games. Like, nobody's coming for that content. And honestly, I may not buy, I wouldn't maybe hire Twitch slots as much as I would just hire cosplayers. Like, it would make more sense to do that, to say, hey, you're a cosplayer, you don't have to be in cosplay ever, or you can be in cosplay whenever you have a new costume to show off. But as far as what we're employing you for would be to just be the face of this footage, or the introduction of this footage.
Is that a human?
Anyways, I'm definitely rambling at this point, and I've said several times I could only do this if I had infinite time, money, and energy, and I don't have any of that, nor do I really even have the skill. If anything, what I'm really describing is what I would like to see the new G4 turn into, but I don't think that's really what the new G4 is going to turn into. And honestly, I don't know who the target audience for the new G4 is even. It could be that you should be targeting 10-year-olds. It could be that you should be targeting 14-year-olds. It could be you should be targeting 40-year-olds. So, yeah, I don't know who your audience really is as far as the average gamer, which probably is 36, 37 these days, I would guess, or maybe 25. So, yeah, I don't know if you're looking to secure a new generation of fans that would stick with you for a long time, or if you're trying to get the fans that already exist. Just gonna end there, I guess. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article here. Sony wasn't sold on Fortnite crossplay until a compensation policy sweetened the deal. So basically, Sony charged, or Sony asked to be compensated by Epic Games for crossplay. Which, yeah. At a certain point, if Sony can be bought, then you know Sony is kind of doomed as a video game company. Because either they should have been on one side, which is the Microsoft side, and say, hey, crossplay really isn't going to hurt our sales that much, or if at all, and we're going to look like the good guys by allowing crossplay. Or you're going to take the Sony's side to say crossplay does hurt our sales, and thus we're not going to allow it on the PlayStation Network. And this is what we truly believe. This is what our research says, and we honestly truly believe it. But the second you can be bought, the second you're corruptible, well, now you've got no leg to stand on at all, and you come off as just greedy and uncaring, which definitely paints Sony in a bad light once again, to make it look like it's a greedy and uncaring company. And I think that is probably an accurate description at this point. It does feel like in less than 15 years we probably will see the death of Sony, just because it is being run into the ground by poor decisions. Weak, limp-wristed, bad decisions from management. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Escape, which just looks like a horror dark screenshot asset flip game. $3.99 English and Chinese.
Don't underestimate me.
Here we have a game called Eternia Pet Whisperer, which looks to me like it's a visual novel where you're talking to pets. They're calling it a dating sim. 99 cents. I don't know. Befriend 6 unique animals that are poorly drawn. This art style works alright with the animals, but not great, and it looks terrible with this guy. With the guy. I feel like this is either you're befriending the animals or you're actually dating the animals. Which actually dating the animals gets dangerously close to bestiality, so there's a danger in that also. This game was made during a game jam also, I noticed. 99 cents English. I don't think there's any reason to play that. Here we have a game called Blocker Orange, which I feel like we've already seen a game called Blocker something. 59 cents, $1.18. Let's see, do we want to play that? Yes, we do. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. Activision is betting big on mobile after Call of Duty mobile player spending tops $1 billion. So they're not getting a negative response, frankly, as far as going with in-app purchasing and mobile sales. Golem summoning.
What masterpiece will I create today?
I'm just
that.
warming up.
See, Game Master has an article. Sweeney asked Xbox to time its free multiplayer launch with Epic's first Apple attack. Let's see if we can understand that title more. One peculiar exchange shared by the court captures a conversation between Tim Sweeney and Xbox head Phil Spencer, in which Sweeney asked Spencer to consider timing a major change to the Xbox Live Gold lineup with Fortnite Season's 14 launch, something he covertly notes would see Xbox benefit from the coming war with Apple. Quote, long ago we talked optimistically about the possibility of a subscription-free multiplayer on Xbox, writes Tim Sweeney, referring to Xbox plans to remove Xbox Live Gold requirement for free-to-play games. If this is coming, please consider the possibility of timing the program to support Fortnite Season 14 launch on 8/27. So then at a certain point, what is collusion and what is cooperation in business is the question that has to be asked there. And frankly, in that case, this isn't, in my opinion, very scandalous. And the headline is certainly trying to make it more scandalous than it actually is. It's not crazy at all to ask somebody to cooperate and time things at the same time. Let's see.
And that concludes today's sermon.
So yeah, I would have to say I don't feel like there is a real any hay to be made as far as that. Like, the question is, in my mind, as an armchair lawyer, which is to say not really a lawyer at all, how could you take that cooperation and improve it or change it so that it would be illegal collusion? I think you probably would have to have named Apple directly, or at least named other competitors. You would have had to say, hey, let's work together so that you don't have to buy Xbox Live Gold for Fortnite, but still have to own Xbox Live Gold for other competitors. I think at that point it's collusion and duopoly style gameplay. Well, not gameplay, but duopoly style negotiation.
I'm ready for more. What do we have here?
But yeah, if you're saying that you would like somebody to do something in a specific time frame that would benefit pretty much everybody, you're hardly really benefiting yourself exclusively to the point where I'd say that's collusion. And sadly, the way the laws are written, some collusion and even some duopoly actions and even some monopolistic actions are fully allowed and acceptable, if not standard business practices. Microsoft really can't do anything to force Apple to do something as far as how it treats Epic Software and Tim Sweeney and Fortnite. So yeah, I really don't think that's a particularly great story. I do have some dropped frames right now, but it is 0.2%. So overall, I've only dropped 835 frames, which is an insignificantly small number of frames over the course of like 2 hours of streaming. Like less than 10 seconds of frames over 2 hours. So maybe if I want to be really careful, I'll crank down the upload speed another 10 kilobits, and that's really what I've gotten down to, is I'm adjusting it by
Uncharted desert
really small amounts.
I'm just warming up. Drown in light.
But yeah, I tried to have my router reboot, and it broke the first time I told it to have a scheduled reboot, which, yeah, that sucks. That's crazy.
There is not a soul without sin.
The real battle begins.
Gamma Sutra has an article here. The Witcher 3 director has resigned, denying bullying accusations. Not only is he denying the bullying accusations, an internal investigation also found him not guilty of workplace bullying, or mobbing as it's called in Polish. But I could also see there clearly is bad blood, and he mentions that too. But I could also see that there's there is almost certainly a level of, for lack of a better term, crappiness amongst a lot of the management at CD Projekt Red. Like, clearly people working at CD Projekt Red are not happy. People who bought Cyberpunk 2077 are not happy. So it really does feel like it is just a lot of unhappy people and a lot of unhappy circumstances. It's a shame that it's a shame we went from The Witcher 3, which people were very happy with, to revelations of poor workplace conditions and overwork and a bad product.
Watch closely, apprentices.
This match is mine.
Let's see if we can
Mix them
win here.
boom. Put your arm into it.
Here we have a game on Steam called King's Bullseye, the Chess Strike, which looks like some kind of crazy chess game, but really is more of a tower defense game with chess pieces. Which I would say using chess pieces and then not having them actually in chess is just kind of confusing and silly. It feels asset flippy, really. $1.19 English, Portuguese, Brazil. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Distant Kingdoms. It's just tagged as a city builder.
For the best medicine.
And here we got the images not loading immediately, but still a lot of that is Steam's fault. Looks nice for a city builder. It's mostly positive, early access. $21.24 is fairly expensive. English full audio. I'm going to put this on the follow list, though I would like to see if there's something there. 3 damage to all enemies. What can we do? This.
Nothing stops me once I got my speedy boots on.
And this. Then we've got a choice. We play this, or we play this. I think we play this.
Feel free to call on me again.
think that's as good as we can do.
I shall give birth to a new world.
Let's see.
Howl cyclones! Devour the land!
May 6th. So, yeah, I'm looking at the main YouTube Steam storefront to see when the Golden Week ends, and not super surprising, it ends on Friday. Or, Thursday. May 6th, 10 a.m. Pacific. I saw someone claiming they had a review for Resident Evil Village, 7 Village, but I don't really believe them. I bet they are just talking about the demo and it's just a bait and switch YouTube video. Alright, let's try the tournament deck one more time. So yeah, I'm gonna have to decide whether I wanna spend that money or not. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam, Immerse CV, living with intellectual disability. I wonder if this is intentionally misspelled. Okay. So it is supposed to be like you have epilepsy, you have hand coordination issues. Frankly, if one person had epilepsy, dyslexia, and hand coordination issues, and inability to apparently tell time or vision issues, I mean, this person should not be living alone, to say the least. As to go really extreme, this person should not be alive in general. It's an interesting idea for a VR game, though. $5.94. Room scale, English full audio. I'm gonna put this on the follow list. I could certainly see the educational aspect to that and the empathy aspect to that. It does kind of feel like you probably should jump through to multiple people, though, because when you start talking like comorbidities, I guess is the right phrase there, or just the same multiple problems, which in all fairness, disabled people and sick people in general usually do have multiple problems, so it's not unrealistic, but it confuses the issue quite a bit, because everybody's own disability is going to be a little bit different. So somebody with vision problems and dyslexia is more likely in a worse scenario than somebody with perfect vision and dyslexia. So that is something that also has to be considered. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. A host of Stadia developers have left Google to join Jade Raymond at Haven Studios, which it's kind of crazy. I thought all the developers at Stadia had already left. That being said, this was updated to reflect that the named developers departed the Stadia Games and Entertainment team as opposed to the general Google Stadia team. Haven Studios, though, as a company, I don't know how many people, if they've made any games, which that's something to consider too. I am noticing here, and I guess that did remind me that this was posted on Reset Era, and so Reset Era is still being used as a forum, and some of the announcements of the Giant Bomb team leaving was also posted on Reset Era, and the fact that you know that people are using Reset Era really does highlight that there is still some SJW-ness in there. I would never bother to go to Reset Era for news. I have no need to do it, and I have no desire to do it, knowing that there is controversy both around the forum that Reset Era split off from, which I also don't go to, and Reset Era, which has in multiple occasions been accused of promoting crazy SJW propaganda nonsense. It really is just you don't need those kinds of forums anyways. I'd be much more likely to go to just 2chan or 4chan or whatever the chan is specifically for gaming. Maybe that is 4chan. I would go there first. Or I just stick to Reddit, which Reddit has its own problems certainly, but it's nowhere as bad as Reset Era. Right. Why did that not do anything? I thought that was supposed to have done something.
Quartz has come in every shade imaginable. Wow.
Can't be attacked. Apparently. Can't take damage, apparently. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article here. A Finnish studio called Metacore secures 180 million from Supercell,
Did I lose?
which I think we may have already talked about that, but we'll re-mention it. Really not making it up the ladder, even trying these tournament decks. Let's see, we already talked about that. I talked about that. Hey, there is a whole bunch of duplicate tabs here. Gamma Sutra has the same thing. Humble backs away from controversial slider changes. You can check that out if you're interested. And then they have a feature which is a post-mortem of Resident Evil 2 Nintendo 64 version they retweeted from the year 2000. That is really something that I feel like I would be okay with on a TV channel to run reruns, and I am just totally not okay with as far as putting on Twitter and on your news feeds. Particularly since you're not labeling it properly. That's part of the problem. If it was, hey, it's Throwback Thursday and we're gonna throw back to an old article, that's one thing. Or if it was a throwback article every single day, that's one thing. But you need to label it as old news, not new news. Like, that's something that I think you legitimately would get in trouble with if you are an actual news reporter, to potentially link to or publish an article that was old and make it even just slightly imply that it might be new information. Here we have somebody on the chat, Panak, I think is how you'd pronounce that, saying hi. Hi. Next we have a game on Steam called Rapper Life Simulation, which looks like an asset flip game. Doesn't look particularly interesting. I would argue, like, as somebody who would love to have a soundboard like this, which would probably be somewhere between $8,000 to $30,000 depending on how many features there are, you don't need something like this for a rapper. Each one of these faders going up and down is a different channel input. Rapper literally needs one input. That's it. If a rapper has a crew of 5, he would need 5 inputs. So maybe 1 bar here. And then this is probably mixing different groups, which you probably don't need to mix different groups separately. And then here's probably an equalizer settings. And then the digital elements on like a good Panasonic soundboard. Well, nice, and they're not necessary by any means. I think a lot of celebrities, certainly rappers included, get suckered into paying a lot of money for a lot of equipment that they don't need. And yeah, a Rodecaster Pro would almost certainly do very well for about $500 for a rapper, and an ambitious rapper. You don't really even need that much. You could spend somewhere between $50 and $100 to get like just a USB microphone, the Blue Yeti or Blue Snowball microphone. Great cheap thing to start with as far as a possible device to use to record your rapping session. Honestly, spend $100 on a microphone and more on the software if you can't use the open source software for audio editing, which would be Audacity. I don't think is open source. There is an open source audio editor, but it may not be that particularly that good. But yeah, you play that, and you pay for a software, and then you pay for soundproofing, and then that would be a much better extent as far as the usage of your software. Your money is, instead of buying a soundboard, buying software and buying soundproofing. Of course, me giving financial advice to rappers, frankly, pointless. As a video game, though, this clearly is nothing. $9.99 English and Turkish. It's just an asset flip game. Next, we have a game called Barbaros, which feels like it's supposed to be Barbados, but maybe there is a city called Barbaros too. Doesn't look like anything to me. The idea of a pirate on an island and then there maybe being puzzles on the island, kind of like The Witness, but with pirates, isn't a terrible thought. But I don't think that's what really this game is offering. Really, I think this is just more assets being flipped. $10.99 English and Turkish. Yeah, it would almost be just a it almost would be just a focus around around the puzzles, and having the ability to be a pirate really wouldn't play a role. Here we can see this is just an open world game where you're hacking and slashing at skeletons. Early access for $10.99. Yeah, that's not making it to the fall list. Do I want to evolve?
This match is mine.
See, next we have a game on Steam called Wardland, which Looks like it's a puzzle game.
You're done for.
A crosswords type game, but not quite. Or if it is a crosswords type game, it's going with like a Tetris type concept. Yeah, I don't think I like that as an idea. That seems like that is weird. But you know what? I'll give it a chance. 69 cents, English only, 30 achievements. I'll put this on the follow list. Maybe people really would like a game like that. Like, the idea sort of makes sense, but it also would have to be handmade games for everything. And I'm not sure if that's really what they're going to do.
Answers come in every shade imaginable.
Let's go ahead and evolve that one.
You don't stand a chance.
Let's see. See. Oh, I should have played this. He's gonna just kill this guy with this guy, and then that's gonna be a mistake. Next, we have a game called Grandma Badass, which sounds interesting. It looks like it's a comedic point-and-click adventure. Certainly, for the fact that we've had a lot of silly characters in point-and-click adventures, Grandma certainly works as an idea. If anything, I think grandmas and grandpas in general probably do deserve some more highlights. $4.99, bunch of languages. I'll put this on the follow list because I'm a sucker for point-and-click adventure games. But yeah, there's not a lot of old people in video games in general, and they probably deserve a shot. Let's see. Spell boost cards in your hands. Play this.
Design a brighter future for everyone. No way!
Do this. And then do that. This doesn't do anything. Evolving wouldn't do anything. See, the inherent problem, of course, of making any game with an older person is that they have to be particularly physically fit to be believable, even if they're just walking around. That's where something like a point-and-click adventure game really does make a lot of sense. I'm sure there's been plenty of grandmas and mothers and fathers in like visual novels, but then they get moe animated so that they get animated in the moe style, so they still look like they're 14 years old at the oldest. It doesn't make a lot of sense that there would be big fighting games that have grandparents in it, although the newest Mortal Kombat, which was messing with time, probably does have a certain element to that. Okay. It would cover one play point. By doing this, do I need to remove anything? Rush, fanfare.
Trying calculations set. Ready to summon.
Alright.
Mana, come forth.
I always catch the varmint. Eventually.
Okay.
This
So
is how
we
you
hit
cast.
this
A full frontal attack.
and that. And then we hit that.
Rapid fire.
And then we hit that, or do we wait? Think we
Justice
wait.
flies away.
See, next we have a game on Steam called Siphonophore, which looks like it is half Lovecraftian horror game and half top-down shooter. And I don't think I'm particularly interested in either. $5.39, English only. TechRaptor has the same article. See Project Witcher 3 director resigns. Let's see. It's probably not news anybody cares about, but TechRaptor also has an article here. Fallout 76 refrigerator has been quietly buffed in a recent patch to make food not rot as fast. I suppose that probably is a good thing, although it may not really matter to most people. Alright, well, do this.
Trying calculations set. Ready to summon.
Peace will embrace you, one way or another.
Interesting. I just helped the guy.
Peace will embrace you, one way or another.
Rapid fire. Trying calculations set. Ready to summon.
Oh, if I had rapid fired this, I could actually have killed that.
This is how you cast. This is how you cast. A full frontal attack.
TechRaptor has an article here. Soldier Boy claims, and I don't really believe him, that Nintendo and Google tried to buy his gaming company. Which, I mean, I guess you can read this article if you want to. I think it's more interesting just to look at this cheap Game Boy clone that we've seen 100 times over, or I've seen 100 times over, made by Chinese marketers. And it's not a horrible idea, frankly, to have a celebrity or semi-celebrity try and advertise a very cheap Game Boy clone and sell it if you keep it cheap and if you just are kind of honest about it. Whereas I think Soldier Boy is probably a little crazy and thinks he's making an actual competitor to the Switch or the Xbox or the PlayStation 5, which he definitely is not. Let's see. Gematsu has a 2D action platformer called Blast Brigade vs. the Evil League of Dr. Creed has been announced for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Which, okay. There was a story on Reddit of yet another YouTuber who got his content stolen, and then YouTube decided to side with the content thief and is now threatening to delete 13 years of work because he had the audacity to try and protect his own content and not allow it to be stolen. Which, yeah, Google sucks. YouTube sucks. It's still consistently a problem. It really sucks, I imagine, for most people hearing it on YouTube, to have almost every single creator complain about something like that. H3H3, although I stopped following H3H3's podcast because it was frankly just boring. I think there was some controversy around it, but I can't even remember. They are once again apparently in another lawsuit. So they're actually once again trying to, I suppose, strengthen fair use and those concepts, which is a good thing, certainly.
Kinda haunted. Literally.
But we need real legal reform on the copyright system and fair use system. It is not working, to say the least, and YouTube's implementation or enforcement of copyright is not working. Or I think many would argue it's not also within the realm of what was intended or what the law actually says, but it definitely is not working.
Can I haunt you too?
Let's go ahead and hit that.
Is a work of art.
Let's see. Gametsu has an article here. Necromundia hired gun gameplay overview trailer is available. Although I don't feel like I need to see any more of Necromundia. It looks like it might be a very interesting game, so I'm just gonna say check that out on Gametsu and move on. It could be an interesting game. It could be just another Warhammer failed attempt of a game. Alright, let's
Lawful evil. Chaotic good.
see if we can evolve this.
Mana, come forth.
Wrongdoing? Me? Thought.
There we go. We'll play that.
Now this is a work of art.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Russian Mailman Simulator, which is obviously a first-person shooter garbage asset flip game for $1.79. Man, at this point, I just need a button to press whenever I have to describe an asset flip game.
No, literally.
Here we have a troll game, I would assume, called the Stonks Market. Like, yeah, it's a joke game, it's a troll game. It's probably not really trolling anybody other than hedge fund managers who are a fair target in my book, but also it looks like it's not interesting or fun as a game. $3.74, English full audio. Also, is bundled with Karen, a game called Karen, so another troll game. I just don't feel like people should put their money into these kind of products.
Now this
That is
is a
Can
work
I
just
haunt you
being
too?
and like an SJW in the exact opposite way, by being a kind of fervent anti-SJW,
with the wind.
or a religious ridiculous anti-SJW, which I personally try not to go that deep and go on rants too much, but I occasionally do. Next we have Save Me Mr. Taco Definitive Edition, which this was already on my follow list, so we'd already seen it.
Dark Lord,
Taco being the Japanese word for octopus. This looks like a Game Boy game still. Maybe the definitive edition gets it to more of a widescreen aspect and several different visions. See, this might very well be the closest thing to a Kirby game ever on PC, though. So, English and French, $14.99. I suppose we should look and see if the old game is available. It seems like it isn't anymore. I feel like it was. Let's see. Well, all I can do, I suppose, is leave this game on the follow list. Speaking of the follow list, I did mention on Monday, and I kind of forgot about it, the idea of doing some fall list cleanup like every Friday or the first Friday of a month, and that way the fall list doesn't consistently grow as this big thing. Right now is not really a great time to be doing any cleanup to the fall list, but I could see the idea, certainly. I could see reasons to try to go down that path.
What do we have here?
Should probably
we have
evolve,
here?
but whatever. We'll just end the turn. Let's see. Kimetsu has an article here. Back for Blood card system trailer. The game director choreographs your world. So they're introducing some kind of card system. Still have to watch these things on still have to watch these things on YouTube directly.
Best of luck to you.
See, they've noted the cards will not be available for purchase via any in-game storefront or first-party storefront. Some cards will likely be included with post-launch paid content drops, but in a way that ensures those drops will not be paid to win. So these card things are randomization effects, it feels like, would be my guess, of a Back for Blood game, which I don't really care to put any more focus or investigation into, because I'm never going to play Back for Blood anyways. Let's see. Okay.
This match is mine.
Second wind blow. Got to roam in
Hit
style.
that. Let's see. Kimetsu has a game called Stonefly launching June 1st.
Are you in need of medicine?
See if we can
Haunted.
kind
Not
of see what
really.
this is. Seems like you're a fly fighting other insects, kind of dropping down on them. It feels a little crazy. It kind of feels like a mobile game. Doesn't particularly catch my attention. Okay. What can we do to actually do? Guess you play this,
Embrace your vast potential.
and then play that. You can't do anything there. This.
Embrace your vast potential. Opportunities abound.
It didn't quite work the way I'd hoped it would have worked. So I'm gonna lose. I could have won there, because this would have done 3 damage to all enemies, and I would have won had this triggered off of those 2 triggering. Here we have a game called Almighty Kill Your Gods, which is already mixed. I feel like I've already seen this game. Yeah, I think we already looked at it. English full audio came out May 5th. Apparently they re-released it and didn't help anything. They have such a mixed review already. Does highlight problems, certainly. As a single player game that requires a third-party account and a third-party EULA, there's clearly problems with the way they are doing business. See, next we have a game on Steam called Play with Gilbert, A Small Tale, which we have seen a couple of cases of games where you play as a cat. I don't know if they're ever good games, though. This is free, English only, so I guess that's not terrible. It is saying it's for 3-year-olds. I feel like I have seen this game before though. So maybe it finally just now came out of early access as a free game, or maybe somebody is making the same game over and over again, which I couldn't really blame too many people if they were remaking that game once, trying to do a little bit better. Here we have a game called Acreon VR, which just looks like a garbage VR game, standing in one place, swinging your hands, trying to punch things. Early access, $4.79. See, next we have a game called Clown Town 1443, which looks like nothing. Looks like somebody hand drew these animations. And this probably is a great example of why you shouldn't just hand draw with crayons and paper animations and try to make a game after it. It does not look good. $4.99 English only.
What masterpiece will I create today?
I'm just warming up.
That. Next we have a game called Thingamajig, which looks like a VR game for 3D modeling, but I don't think that really works any better than any other ideas we've seen as far as painting in VR. If any of your screenshots want to load, wow, that is a lot of screenshots. Kind of no question as to why it took forever to load then. Clearly we still are in a phase where a lot of developers are trying to figure out a way to make VR work. And we just don't have the user interfaces. We don't have that experience. We don't have an idea or a clue as to how to make VR work, because it's just not intuitive. This is a free-to-play game with a third-party EULA. You can do it seated, standing, or standing, English only. Yeah, there's just problems there. That's pretty much all it boils down to, is that we need to figure out a way to make VR feel like the real world, to the point where you can forget you're actually wearing VR controllers and headsets. And until we can reach that level, VR just feels like this highly expensive, pale comparison to the real world. Which, honestly, you could say the exact same criticism to like an NES, with an NES controller with 2 buttons. Or even, like, I think the Atari had only 1 button and a joystick. They are all pale comparisons to the real world, and I guess we just had more imagination back then, or very possibly we just weren't as critical back then. Alright. Next we have a game on Steam called Flugen, which looks like a platformer using claymation animation. Just for the unique art style here. This is something we don't see very often. I want to put this on the fall list. That doesn't mean it's particularly good. Actually, the game looks pretty bad. $4.99. Like, it could be pretty short, pretty dull. But I want to give it a chance, so I'm going to put it on the follow list. We should at least attempt to reward people for doing better or unique art.
Nothing stops me once I got my speedy boots on.
in the turn. Okay. So theoretically, this would synergize with this to give me as many rapid fires as possible. Which probably means I should have evolved that. It's just wrecking me. Let's see. Send that back to my hand. And then this. Do we want to evolve? Might as well. I think I'm probably going to get wrecked if I don't kill this. Let's see, Gamatsu has an article. Gamescom 2021 goes all digital. It is no longer a hybrid event as previously planned. I think that is pretty obvious. It'll be hosted by Jeff Keighley on August 25th. Yeah, I imagine all of the events are going to pretty much be all digital going forward, with the exception of E3. I wouldn't be surprised if it never gets back to the old ways of doing things. Sigils destroyed. This could do rapid fires. See, do this.
What masterpiece will I create today?
Hold on to that. Do that. Then do that. Then do we want to evolve anything here?
This match is mine.
A second wind blows. Got to roam in style. You break the curse?
Let's see. Gamatsu has Angelique Luminaracy demo now available in Japan. Save data carries over to the full game. This looks like a romance visual novel. It's on the Switch, interestingly enough. That is something that certainly has been ignored and dropped as far as the idea of having demos. As Steam and other storefronts have pushed more people to create demos, they've really not pushed them to add any feature that that carries over the gameplay progress in a demo. And for some games that's okay, but for some games it's not really okay. If there was a demo for Skyrim, for instance, I would definitely want the character I created and the gameplay I had done to matter and play a role. Let's go put that on the field. And go ahead and put that on the field. Go ahead and put that on the field. Still feel like I'm gonna lose. Next we have a game on Steam called Cube Gym, which looks like it's an infinite runner with cubes. The art style looks kind of cutesy, but it's still very much just an asset flip thing. $6.99. Here we have a game called Ouroboros Dungeon, Ouroboros, which looks like it's a top-down roguelike game, hack and slash RPG. Doesn't look terrible, but also doesn't look particularly special. A lot of these styles of games, multiple styles of games, have gotten so generic and so common that it becomes kind of impossible for me to want to even consider it. $4.49, English only. Yeah, I don't see anything of interest there. Surprised I survived. Dude.
I'll serve in hopes of a better tomorrow.
All magic falls under my purview.
Evolve. That.
You don't stand a chance.
Magic. Bow to my will. Got to roam in style.
Get that. Can't really do anything else. Here we have a game, Dawn of the Falconer. Not Falconeer. Unless that's how you pronounce Falconeer, and I just don't know how it's spelled, which might be a case. This is an online cooperative action-adventure game, according to the description. It's free. It's made by students. Online co-op. Think that's a problem, really. I could put this on the fall list, but there's basically nothing to highlight, even as a student project, if I have to play with somebody else online. And see, this is kind of a great example. This is from Foul Play Studios, which I also is a small senior capstone game made by a team of UW Stout students. So they formed a company. So it's not even really a student project being published by a school, which doesn't really change much in that sense. But yeah, more and more as I'm looking at student games, more and more I'm deciding that they're just not quality enough to point out or even highlight or even encourage video game students in general. And I guess that is probably true with every other field too. We don't have student filmmakers getting their student projects highlighted in big ways, if anywhere. It's not until you have like something like the Cannes Film Festival and a first-time filmmaker decides to submit their content because they think it's good enough. And usually I imagine those first-time directors are still fairly old and have been out of whatever film school for several years working as assistant directors or production assistants or something like that. Which really probably is an argument that internships and like apprenticeships make a lot more sense for artistic creator endeavors than a film school education does. See, Gematsu has a co-op fantasy RPG called Metrosphere for iOS and Android coming to the West, where you've got some elf-like characters that also seem to be either covered in bark or robotic elements. I think it's bark. Honestly, it kind of feels like censorship, that they've just drastically changed the look of these characters to censor them. Yeah. Yeah, when you look at these characters, it's all skin, big belly, lots of cleavage. And the actual game, this is an incredibly blurry image. I don't know why it is that way. Here you've got a guy, I think. Here you've got another girl. So, yeah. One bark character here. seems to be an important main story character, but then the real focus is more on the other characters. So I would say that is probably a prime target for a game that will get censored more as it releases and will cause some kind of controversy for being censored. Yeah, we have a game on Steam called Bunny Shot. I don't know if we talked about this, but obviously this is just a terrible bubble bobble for 84 cents.
This is my fate after all.
Twitter, it's not video game related, but is no longer going to crop as much in iOS and Android, so you're going to be able to see the full picture instead of just a cropped image, which for me I don't think has ever been a problem because I don't use iOS or Android to look at Twitter. I use the actual PC. So yeah, that is really a non-issue for me. Okay. Lose 2 cards to draw a card. And then wait a turn. Let's see, CNET has this article. Thanks to FPS boost, Xbox Series S is an incredible value at $300. This is a opinion piece, obviously. And honestly, if I am potentially going to end up seeing more CNET news, I need to spend some extra time in cleaning up how CNET is presented, because there is a massive amount of ads and nonsense around that.
Lightning storm.
Blow on, dear wind.
Do I want to evolve or just wait? Let's see. Steam has a game called Jetpack City Action Adventure, which,
Ladies and gentle ghosts.
yeah, I don't see anything here of interest. $1.99. Still have far too many tabs open. Here we have a game called Spaceships, which is just a top-down space game that does not look visually polished very well. Early access, English, not supported at all, Chinese only for 59 cents. Alright. Hit that. And all of a sudden that can't attack. Why can that not attack?
Desert awaits.
Oh, whatever. See, a game called Incredible Mandy for PS4 is now available. Let's see. Explore the memories of a brother and sister buried deep within their dreams. Never heard of this before. See, these are YouTube videos, so why is the resolution so bad? I guess maybe I cranked the resolution down so that I could upload more. Which I guess that works, so as we work towards the insane goal of streaming for several hours without dropping a single frame. This doesn't look terrible as an idea. Is it on Steam? Yeah, it came out on Steam November 2018. So it's not particularly a new game. This, and then this, and then this. 1 damage. Right, play this.
Spell looks so sweet, you'll get cavities. Sweet enough for you.
Then hit that. Then do that. So here's that game. Here's the game Incredible Mandy. It came out in 2018. It has 37 reviews. So it barely follows the rules of being relevant. And it took it 3 years, basically, to get to that point.
Is that?
Which really hurts the argument of it being relevant. And the screenshots want to load. $14.99. It's been $8.99 3 times since February 19th, 2019. It has full audio Chinese. I do have it on my wish list, but it definitely isn't a high priority, and it definitely doesn't ever discount itself. So, yeah, I've already done as much as I can do for this game, which is to say I put it on the wish list, and it has yet to meet me halfway on a reasonable price for a game that is clearly not relevant enough to deserve anything more.
Spelled it so sweet, you'll get cavities.
Golly, it's chilly here.
Honey glazed.
Well, that screwed up. That screwed that up terribly. That was a terrible way to play that.
Ooh, this is real. You like the cold?
See, here we have a game called Experience the Energy. We already talked about that. Some of these are duplicates, aren't they? Alright, well, that'll save me some time. Here we have a game called Devo Hunted Game. We may have already talked about this. Yeah, we did. $14.39, English only. Allegedly full audio. A whole bunch of different types of games it looks like combined. We talked about that one. Here we have a game called 2D Baseball Duel, which seems to be a flat 2D baseball game, which I couldn't imagine why you would want to play a game like that. $6.79, single player. Interesting, or split screen player versus player. Yeah, I have no clue as to why you would want something that looks like that. Here we have something called Gashi Sachi no Sachi, which definitely feels like it is some horrible low-effort troll Japanese or Chinese game. Free to play, English, Japanese. Which, yeah, that's garbage.
Don't underestimate me.
Next, we have a game called Paint Chips, which is kind of the idea of Splatoon if you did a Splatoon in a top-down perspective, which this really goes to highlight the problem with the idea of making a Splatoon game with a top-down 2D perspective. You just cannot visually see anything. Free to play, English only with in-app purchases. Yeah. There is a reason for the 3D part of the visuals in Splatoon, and you can't just change things willy-nilly and expect it to work. Gematsu has Shadow Warrior 3 adds a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions, a Doomsday Device stage reveal trailer, if that interests you. I don't know if I even want to bother to see Shadow Warrior 3's Doomsday Device trailer. I will eventually probably get around to playing the Shadow Warrior series. It's probably a great game to compare to the Doom reboot series, as it is as it is a run and gun arcadey style fighting mechanic. Yeah.
Let me divine tomorrow's
I don't feel like Shadow Warrior has been discounted much either. And it really is just an arena shooting game, so I probably would have a limited amount of entertainment around it.
I serve in hopes of a better
Play
tomorrow.
that. Here we have a game on Steam called Big Quest 2: The Adventure, which doesn't look like much.
I'll face you head
It's a
on.
very zoomed out, top-down RPG, for lack of a better term. Not seeing any actual gameplay of interest. Just walking around, interacting with people, talking to people. Says it has puzzles and riddles. $3.39, English and German and Spanish and Russian. Yeah, I'm not impressed by that advertisement.
I go with the wind.
Is
Everything all right here?
Here we have a game opening night at the Gruben Spielhaus, Berlin, 1927. I know I didn't pronounce that right. Has an interesting flat art style, kind of sepia tone, kind of black
This
and
ain't
white
ideal,
cardboard.
is it?
But I think what this really is just kind of walking around watching them play in VR. So the price is free, so it's not something I can really complain too much about. Full German, English. Apparently was commissioned by probably the owner of this house, which is Playhouse. Probably is a big deal in Germany, but not a big a deal enough to make sense to the rest of the world, I'm sure. Let's see, well, if we do that, no, I shouldn't have done that. Should have done just that,
Chaotic good.
and then put that on the field. Mm. 2
Got to
damage.
roam in style.
Oh, waffle cakes.
See, EA has acquired the super mega baseball developer Metalhead Software,
Phoenix graces you with
according to
her
Gamatsu,
bang bang.
which, okay, that means less competition, I suppose, as far as baseball games.
Let me divine tomorrow's
Nintendo has announced a game builder garage for Switch, which theoretically is going to have you learn to make games. See if we can see how this is going to work. It looks like it's probably based off of a drag and drop visual programming aspect. You know, very much like Scratch or CircuitPython. It's all the same idea. Or if anything, this actually kind of looks closer to the Unreal Engine. So there's going to be guided lessons. Interesting. Might be something to this. But I imagine you're going to have to struggle quite a bit to create anything past the guided lessons. And let's see. The question is, would you want to download something like that? It's $29.99. Or would you want to own the
Uncharted desert awaits.
cartridge version of something like that? Come on.
A galaxy of
This.
gems tumbles and twirls.
And then do this.
The uncharted desert awaits. What do we have here?
Hit that.
I'm
Hit
just
that.
warming up.
Did I predict wrong?
see, Gamatsu has Astalon Tears of the Earth launching June 3rd for the PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. This is an action platformer. See what it looks like. Seems to be very cartoony in the trailer. Feels kind of like Mega Man inspired from the blue. But it feels much more like a Castlevania platforming game where you switch between different characters. Yep. So a game like this looks good so far. The question would really just come down to how difficult the game plays. We can go ahead and put this on the fall list on Steam, even though it's not out yet. There is an argument to do some follow list cleanup. No, actually, I don't want to play that card. Well, that probably hurt him a little bit. Yeah, we have a game on Steam called VR America Tour, and you can see it's running at a terrible frame rate. And this is seemingly just asset flips of several different environments. Here they're showing dirty, spray-painted streets, and then eventually you get to, I don't know what part of America is in the United States this would be. This feels more Central America or South America. It does say just America. But yeah, this definitely does not feel like your average part of the United States or modern society in general. Nor does that hotel really seems standard. This is $1.19. It clearly is just an asset flip VR game. 6 to this.
Why, you've got the face of a chameleon.
Okay. Can go ahead and do that.
Masterpiece will I create today?
Mana, come forth.
Oh, sorry. Did my absolute genius blow your mind?
See, next we have a game on Steam called Miracle Field, which looks like it's just a Chinese low polygon open world game where you can run as a dog. It seems to be 2.5D, $29.99. It says English only, but I clearly see Chinese letters in some of these screenshots. Yeah, it is not a game of interest. Let's go ahead and do this.
Ice is snow chuck.
Alright, I can play that again. Nice.
Now this is a work of art.
Just take that guy out anyways. Here's TechRaptor has an article. The list of Xbox first person or frames per second boost games has quadrupled by Microsoft. We'll probably never get another announcement like that. So it went from 23 to 97. So quite a list here. I don't recognize some of these games. Like this could be a Far Cry game, and I guess that would be on Xbox. This is a Life is Strange game, obviously. This is that 2 Point Hospital, but I have no idea what this is supposed to be, whether this is a GTA game or what. Probably all of these games, though, are fairly old. Let's see what are some that they're mentioning. Fallout 4, Watch Dogs 2, Wasteland 3, Assassin's Creed, Life is Strange, My Time in Portia, Lego games, which, you know, frames per second boost on the Lego games might be massively helpful for some of the Lego games in particular. Man, I am just not succeeding at all today. These Havencraft challenges. See, Gamma Sutra has a job listing for Side FX as the senior Houdini technical artist. I have no idea what they mean by Houdini technical artist, though. Develop workflows and create tools with Houdini to enable a broad community of artists to create game content procedurally. I have no idea what this Houdini is. Must be some internal software or website. There was that website where they were going to try and get people to basically work almost for free to put content in video games. That pretty much died. Thank goodness. Because we definitely did not need... we definitely didn't need that kind of nonsense happening. Here we have a game on Steam called Wanhon Beginning, which is tagged as a survival horror game. Maybe my standards have been lowered so much today because we've been seeing nothing but garbage all today. But this actually looks like it might be something. It's free. I suppose it is a demo for Wanhon A Vengeful Spirit though, so I'll just put that on the following list, and obviously it already is on the follow list, so nothing needs to be done at all. At the end of your turn, if it is your second turn, 4th, 5th, or 8th, deal 1 damage. If it's your third, just end the turn here. Next, we have a game on Steam called Trekking and Camping, which seems to be kinda nothing. I'm not seeing a bit of an adventure game at most. Not particularly impressed by it. There's this hitchhiker game that came out recently that also didn't really impress me, but might have something of interest to it. $1.79. This is Chinese only. English is not even supported, so don't have to really make a decision. Alright.
Nothing stops me once I got my speedy boots on.
Probably should have played that in opposite directions. Next we have a game on Steam called Skeleton Wave, which looks like a first-person shooter asset flip game for 84 cents. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever actually get to that hitchhiker game and play it though. Draw cards, spell booster cards in your hands, or play this to get +1/+1, or play this. I think you want to do this, and then this. And then see if we can't evolve anyway, so we'll do this. This and this.
Justice finds a
Tap
way.
that. turn. Next, we have a game on Steam called Space Explorer, which might be something. I kind of want to immediately dismiss it just because it's a space game, but I think there's a chance. This is a VR game. $5.99 is a little too cheap for a VR game, but I'll put it on the fall list. I'm not sure that. I assume it is an actual game and not just an animation, but it might be that too. Alright, can we save this? Spell boost the cards in your hand. Spell boost the cards in your hand. 20 cards. Draw a card. Play.
Answers come in every shade imaginable.
And play. And evolve.
Mana, come forth.
What is it you desire?
Is that enough to save me? I don't know. Game of Sutra has an article. The Stadia VP and head of product, John Justice, left Google. This is a different group of people lefting. This is not directly, or at least it doesn't seem directly connected to Jade Raymond establishing Haven Entertainment. It really clearly is an obvious case of Google driving people away, not anyone else enticing the employees to something better. So this costs 5, that costs 5, does that cost 5? Does that cost 5? No, I'm doomed. Do this.
It's so sweet, you'll get cavities.
And then do this.
Pretty glazed.
And then do this.
Answers come in every shade imaginable.
And then what do we want to do? We evolve this.
This match is mine.
Here comes the sugar rush. Sweet enough for you?
Can hit that. We can hit that.
Forever and ever more.
See, Gamatsu has an article here. Sony Interactive Entertainment has trademarked Sunset Overdrive in the United States, which seems weird because I thought Sunset Overdrive had already been released, but I guess not.
We can do this
A
together.
real-time management simulation game called Crossroads Inn is coming to the Xbox One on May 19th. It was released on PC in October, so we can check that out. Yep, here we can see that this game is mixed reviewed. Honestly, it has a certain appeal, cleavage, obviously. Jeez, it seems like I cannot get an equal balance between either dropping frames, which I did have some extra drop frames. We're up to 1,898 frames, which is still an insignificant number. But I can't seem to find a balance between dropping frames and images just taking forever to load on Steam. There definitely was a game like this, a tavern simulator game like this. Not this one, though. I'm fairly certain it wasn't this game. That was fairly popular for a brief second. This is $24.99, English and Polish. And then you have another game that's coming out called The Amazing American Circus, which is a deck building game. Would this compare? I'm about to lose.
I never get a chance to speak.
Yeah. I don't see a
Right.
comparison
Lose.
to a game that I recognize. So yeah, people are not happy with this game. It also has a season pass for another $10, so it's extremely expensive. So yeah, weird that it would try to re-release itself and re-establish itself, but whatever. Speaking of whatever, we've failed to get 3 ranked victories in 3 hours. We failed to get 4 ranked victories with Runecraft in 4 hours. There's 1 private match, so I'll come over here, and if anyone is watching and anyone wants to play me a game on a private match, we will set this up, create a private match, just regular, is the formation. We'll just stick with rotation. I think that's good enough. Great. So if anybody wants to join a match, the number will be 24600. I will select a deck of that. If you want to play me for real, that's fine. If you want to pass and let me win, that's fine. I won't know if you want me to let you win, so that's not an option. Meanwhile, I can see the beginning and the end as far as video game news, so we can wrap up here. The ESRB has a Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order rating, T for teen, for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. A game called Aerial Knights Never Yield adds a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version. I don't recognize this game, though, so let's check it out on Steam. They're calling it a runner music difficult platforming game. Yeah, it seems like it is kind of a combination of a like infinite runner parkour type game. It seems like it is so much style and so much flash that it probably is incredibly frustrating otherwise. It's coming out though, so I guess I can put it on the fall list. English, allegedly full audio. Yeah. The game Sky Beneath has a demo now available for PC, which, let's check their Steam page too and see what Sky Beneath is. I don't recognize this at all. I don't know why the hair would not fall down. Also, I guess you're controlling gravity so your hair wouldn't fall. So this might be a interesting new twist on something like Portal type game. Yeah, I think that looks intriguing, at least to start with. This is certainly not something that you can easily program. Looks like there's a whole nother character. 3D platforming, doesn't seem like there's a lot of enemies or anything. Just looks like it is puzzle things. This is a decent looking female character. Doesn't look particularly unique. We've seen that hairstyle, we've seen that type of face. In all fairness though, we're kind of running out of variety as far as 3D models of characters, unless you're going to do a face scan of somebody. So yeah, let's put Sky Beneath on the fall list. Let's see. Gemetzer has an article here. Prinny presents NIS Classics Volume 1 launches August 31st in North America and September 3rd in Europe. Which, okay. This is weird because Prinny is like the Disgaea games. But it seems to me like they're really selling some of their games they created before Disgaea. And arguably, that is even less interesting to me than playing a Disgaea game, which is already something I'm not particularly interested in doing. Though the problem here seems like it's mostly just Soul Nomad. It's also Phantom Brave, the Hermuda Triangle Remastered. So it's like 2 games. Yeah, I just could not get into those Disgaea games. See, MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries update adds cross-platform play and more on May 27th. If you're interested in that. Is MechWarrior 5 really a game? Well, actually the graphics on this does not look bad. So if there was a single player here and I wanted to play a mech game, MechWarrior 5 probably the best option. Is it on Steam? I guess it is. Yeah, we can keep an eye out for that. It's coming out spring 2021. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, though different than, I guess, MechWarrior Online Solaris, which is the other game. Unless this publisher sold out, has some other MechWarrior games. So I have to kind of assume that MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries is MechWarrior 5. Here we have a game on Steam called Project Apocalypse, which looks like a Minecraft clone. $6.99 English Russian. I don't see anything interesting there. Here we have a game called Five Nations, which looks like a space strategy, real-time strategy game. Kind of a StarCraft clone. There might be something to that. The graphics look pretty good. $19.99, third-party EULA, English full audio. Let's put that on the fall list. See, Gemetzer has Wonder Boy Asha in the Monster World, launching May 28th in the West for the PS4 and Switch, and July 29th for PC. Which, no link to the Steam page if it is coming out on Steam. Which is fine. We'll see that when it comes out. That's unlikely to be missed. See, the God of War creator David Jaffe is joining Movie Games, according to TechRaptor. Now, a question certainly to ask here is, did he work on the God of War reboot, or is he the person who worked on like the first God of War, which was very much less impressive? And apparently Movie Games is the supervisory board from Lust from Beyond, the sequel to Lust from Darkness, the adult game, which that's interesting to say the least, but it also might just point out a fact that David Jaffe may not be very well wanted and he may just be too old for the industry, so he's taking any like CEO top level position, upper management position. Let's see. He began as a tester at Sony ImageSoft, a company you probably haven't heard of before. He was there before the PlayStation even existed. He created many of the God of War games and Twisted Metal games, which would explain why you might want to work on Lust from Beyond or as an upper management of that. Let's see. He shifted to streaming games on YouTube at some point and just became a YouTuber. Wow. That's a fall from grace for a game creator. And so he's been making videos on his YouTube channel. I almost want to check that out later. What he's playing. And apparently he liked the game Lust from Beyond enough to join. So he's probably going to get a nice little golden parachute, I imagine, and then that'll do him well. Let's see, he has on his YouTube channel 28,000.3 subscribers, which really does highlight how I've started to notice a lot of YouTubers have very, very few subscribers for what you would think they should. And he's got a game talking about here, let's just show him. Can Psychonauts compete versus Ratchet with Ratchet? Returnal, a brilliant Game of the Year contender. And more Returnal. Look at the length of these games too. So somebody can succeed at doing 4-hour streams. Clearly. Not me particularly, but yeah, every single stream here is in the hours. Here's a 9-minute movie review of Mortal Kombat. Here's a 9-minute opinion piece. He's got the whole red text thing going like crazy as far as the thumbnails. It sucks so much that these kinds of thumbnails. Here we have some kind of anti-SJW. Sony's progressive streak doomed The Last of Us 2 sales, question mark. We'll have to see whether he agrees with that question mark. But yeah, he's doing basically everything you should do to clickbait somebody to clicking on his YouTube channel. And let's see the number of views he's getting. Most recent one has like 1.5 thousand views. Then you have 6, 8,000, 11,000. Getting decent amount of views considering particularly he only has 28,000 subscribers. Here you have one that's 41,000. Big numbers. So yeah, nice to see that somebody can succeed on YouTube. Apparently, unfortunately, it's just you have to create the God of War game series and Twisted Metal to succeed. Although still very weird, very much a fall of grace from grace in my opinion to be making streams instead of working in the video game industry, getting more money than whatever 41,000 views will get you. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article, The Epic vs. Apple Trial surfaces Walmart's rumored Project Storm streaming service. So now all of a sudden Walmart is getting their information leaked because of this lawsuit. And so yeah, Epic and Apple are going to fight it out so much that they don't care if they potentially hurt their friends and their business partners in the same way. Here, Gamma Sutra has a senior sound designer position for Sony PlayStation, which, okay, I guess that means Sony PlayStation is working on something. I wanted to point out this game that came out January 30th, Numbaran, The Adventures of an Unlucky Gnome. It is until the 9th 100% off, so you can get it for free. So check that out if that interests you. We have a game on Steam called Anachronism, which looks like just an old video game for 64 cents, English only. Next, we have a game on Steam called Bite It Museum, which seems like you are a dinosaur in a museum, wrecking the museum, which, you know, a Rampage-inspired 3D game, it's not a terrible thought. Doesn't look bad. Feels like it's probably trying to be a bit more kid-friendly. The problem here, though, is your like score and then a combo thing and just a lot happening as far as this heads-up display for no reason. It's early access, free-to-play, single-player, English only. I'll put this on the follow list. Of course, I guess the question is, how do you get a real dinosaur into a museum? And what's the story behind that? Here we have a game called Ragnarok Chess, which may just be chess with Viking visuals. Yeah, I don't think there's much different there. $1.49 is not terrible. You can unlock 2 more chess pieces. That's weird that you'd have to grind to unlock chess pieces, but okay. I'll put that on the follow list. Like, it still brings you back to the tabletop simulator question as far as should you just get tabletop simulator, but maybe for $1.49 you might get 2 chess themed games. Gematsu has a future Viking horror game called Absolov End of Gods is coming to the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch this summer. Do we have a bit of a trailer here? Infirmature. This seems to be in a modern time Viking themed experience, not so much the past. If anything, it seems like it's in the future. Well, these visuals look like they are kind of all over the place. This feels very much like a Viking themed System Shock. You may notice that there's a lot of Viking themed things going on. Certainly these days, ever since Valheim came out. And if anything, all of this is not because of Valheim, it's because of the God of War reboot. Yeah, that would be the triggering factor. And so now we're seeing a lot of Viking themed games, and too many Viking themed games. Too many people chasing a fad, when either you should establish the next cycle of a fad or go your own way. There certainly haven't been a ton of great Viking themed games anyways, but yeah, there's definitely some room for improvement there, and not to just flood the market with the same visual style of games within a year's span. Moving on, Gematsu has Flashback 2 being announced for consoles and PC, which is kind of crazy since Flashback 1 came out in 1992. But alright, I feel like there was a spiritual reboot or like continuation of Flashback, and that didn't sell particularly well, so maybe they're trying to take a second bite at the apple. Here I got linked to a Forbes article, the best indie games of 2021 you probably missed. Let's see if we have some. Mondorian, never heard of it. Genesis Noir, I do think I've seen that one. El Hio, I do know of that one. Drive By, I don't recognize that one. Lost Words Beyond the Page, I think I've seen that one. Okay. So for a listicle, 5 games are listed here. Although this does give me an excuse to also get rid of all the ads on the Forbes website too, so I'll take that aspect as a challenge. Next, we have a game on Steam called Monster Battle Quest, which looks like it is a zoomed in kind of RPG game with monsters. Sort of Pokemon-esque without the turn-based tactic element. $1.59 English only. I think that deserves a follow. It's nicely animated. This may be super short and it may be more of an idle clicker, or there may not be that many monsters. Next we have Desktop AI Lily, which is another anime girl asset flip desktop puppet for $19.99, Japanese only. I'm really surprised those ever came back into popularity, honestly. Next we have a game on Steam called Planet Miner, which, yeah, it doesn't look particularly interesting. Early access, 99 cents. Respawn went through majorly bad update slash launch of something for Apex Legends. Here we can see today is not going to did not go as planned, at least, but we're pleased to announce Apex Legends Legacy is now officially live. Appreciate you guys sticking by us. So it was just like post after post after post. Like they just one of the worst launches I've seen. Here we have an article. As Nintendo's entertainment kingdom expands, it's still about games. I believe in this article at a certain point they do mention that Nintendo is open to the idea of making more animations. So yeah, we know that they've been working for like a Mario movie, and I think they would go some other directions. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they actually try to take like the Samus series, the Metroid series, and make movies around that and kind of fill in the gap since they're taking so long to make a Metroid game. I also wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do it with Zelda cartoons or movies too. They probably saw the success of the Sonic movie and want to see that succeed. And they saw the Pikachu movie and they've seen that succeed. And there are several Pokemon games that Nintendo kind of owns Pokemon in part. Then I wanted to talk about this. A 3D action RPG game, Made in Abyss Binary Star Falling into Darkness, has been announced for the PS4, Switch, and PC. This is due out for 2020. So the Made in Abyss anime, actually I don't recognize this character or this character. I don't know if they were in the first season or not. You have these, you would call them more chibi than even moe animation style characters, but in this case also it is worth mentioning that it's not just moe, that this is an 18-year-old that looks like a 12-year-old. This is like a 12-year-old. And this is like a 12-year-old robot boy, probably younger than that. I don't know the actual ages. And this anime, when it first came out, was highly lauded for being good and highly lauded for being incredibly traumatic, cruel, and gory, I suppose. Mentally scarring, as it were, because the Abyss in Made in Abyss is this multi-layered kind of dungeon that the second you take a step below a certain point, you are poisoned by some kind of magical field of gravity that will not let you go back up. So if you can go down to like the first level, and that's where this girl was really being taught and forced and trained to do in her school, is to just go down a little bit, look for collectibles and things that they could send back up, and then they would come up and they would get a little sick, but they wouldn't immediately die. And then they set all about on an adventure in which she went deeper and deeper, and so now she is pretty much trapped, and this guy is trying to save her, and they get really hurt and they nearly die, and like even in the first episode on the higher levels that was supposed to be safe, she nearly dies. There is a point at which it seems like people start to mutate and change, so you have like this bunny character here that probably was a human at one time. The colors of the whistles on their necks represent a tiered like system. So I think the white whistles mean you are the best of the best as far as how deep you can go and just to never come back. There's something I think special about her in that her mother was a white whistle. She was very deep in the abyss, and she used a box and a balloon, which is how they send things back up to the surface, to send her as a baby up, which may very well have killed her, but didn't. What strikes me most about this, let's look at the gallery, is you're going to run into a problem here. This is potentially going to be one of those games where Steam might have an issue. Because here are the adults. So, yeah, they're still kind of CG moe, a little short, but honestly, this character may only be like 20 years old. Here's a kid. But this art style, actually depicting violence against kids and danger against kids, and that is very much a theme in the story, may get opened up for censorship. There is also, at least in the manga, a certain level of like innocence / not understanding, in which the girl often is getting naked, or the boy is often getting naked, and that probably won't be in the game, but that may be enough to set off some censor or somebody who wants to be a censor in Valve. So this too would be a game to keep an eye out for, as far as whether it gets censored for visuals or just traumatic theme in general. But it is also one to keep an eye on, because it is also not anything. It is well known and big. Made in Abyss Season 2 is, I believe, somewhat on the verge of coming out. See, that will be it for today, so we can just start going through my Twitter feed and see what new tags are coming up. I will mention that right now, the Shift Up store, which Shift Up is the maker of the lewd adult game that I play, Destiny Child is the name of it. They have a $5 discount, and they do ship to America out of Korea. So yeah, there is a possibility I might go really crazy and buy something from them. I'm thinking about going really crazy and buying a couple of international things. And the new update should be out now for Destiny Child, which is probably a new world boss, it would be my guess. If not, it's a new raid event. So, yeah, I played almost up to the last second to get as much reward as possible for the last event on Destiny Child, and did pretty well. I got a package that would unlock some skins that you might have missed in previous events, and then I realized I nearly didn't need to spend as much of the in-game currency to get that, because I already had collected all of those skins, which really does just go to highlight that I have overplayed that game and kind of maxed it out, and I'm still loving it, which is saying quite a lot. Of course, it is an adult loot game, so it's going to have that niche fandom only. Let's see, I'm scrolling down my Twitter feeds, the multiple Twitter feeds, to see if there's anything new. Apparently a Returnal patch had a serious save corruption issue, and so that got pulled. I feel like Returnal's very poorly programmed as a game, and too expensive, and it's getting pushed, but I don't think people are particularly enthusiastic around it, and now would be kind of the time that people would grasp at straws. And if Returnal's not even getting people's attention now, they're just never going to get people's attention. So let's see. Yeah, all that has come out is a game with Chinese characters here that looks like it's some kind of attempt at a very small Mario Party type game for $3.31, Chinese only. The private match has decided to end by itself. Interesting. So they do end at some point. Otherwise, we have a game called Speedy Golf, which doesn't look like anything of interest, for $14.99, English only. Otherwise, we have a game called Cloud Cutter, which looks like a shoot 'em up game, which doesn't actually look that bad. Nice and widescreen, $18.99, English only. I'll give it a follow. We'll see. Come on. And then Gamatsu had an article, Art of Rally is coming to the PlayStation 5 and PS4 this summer, due out alongside previously announced versions. Which, okay. Good to know. Apparently, I'm having real trouble just getting to the home screen. So once again, did not succeed as far as Shadowverse here, but we got through all the news. So this is where we'll end this episode. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.